If there's one camera that has quietly built a cult following among wildlife photographers, travelers, and aviation shooters, it's the Sony CyberShot RX10 IV. For years, it has been the all-in-one camera that could do almost everything. Wide landscapes at 24mm, distant birds at 600mm, fast autofocus, and a relatively compact body compared to carrying a bag full of lenses. Now Sony has finally brought the series back with the Sony CyberShot RX10 V. And on paper, it sounds like a modernized version of the same formula. The same 24 to 600mm Zeiss lens is still here. The same 20.1 megapixel 1-inch stacked CMOS sensor is still here. But under the hood, Sony has added a much newer processor, AI-powered subject recognition, improved video features, a redesigned body, and a much larger battery. So the big question is this: if the lens and sensor are essentially unchanged, is the RX10 Mark V actually a meaningful upgrade? And more importantly, should RX10 owners spend the money to move to the new model? Let's break it down. The heart of the RX10 series has always been its lens, and Sony wisely didn't mess with it. Both the RX10 IV and RX10 Mark V use the same Zeiss Vario Sonar T-Star 24 to 600mm f2.4 to 4.0, which gives you a 25x optical zoom range from wide angle to serious telephoto reach. That's still what makes these cameras special. With one lens, you can shoot landscapes at 24mm, portraits in the mid-range, and wildlife or sports at 600mm. For bird photography, 600mm is still a very useful focal length, especially when paired with the 1-inch stacked sensor that allows for fast readout and high-speed shooting. The sensor itself is also very familiar. Both cameras use a 20.1 megapixel 1-inch stacked Exmor RS CMOS sensor. So if you're hoping for a major leap in base image quality, resolution, or dynamic range, this is not where the RX10 Mark V changes the game. In good light, we'd expect the two cameras to produce very similar looking photos. But that doesn't mean the RX10 Mark V is just a rebadged RX10 IV. The real differences show up in how the camera processes information and helps you capture difficult subjects. The biggest upgrade is the internal processing. Sony has added the newer Beyond's RX processor and a dedicated AI processing unit, which brings the bridge camera much closer to the autofocus technology found in Sony's recent alpha mirrorless cameras. The RX10 IV already had excellent autofocus for its time, with 315 phase detection points and strong subject tracking. But the RX10 Mark V introduces AI-powered real-time recognition AF, which can detect and track humans, birds, animals, vehicles, insects, and more. For wildlife photography, this is probably the most meaningful upgrade. Instead of relying mainly on contrast and movement, the RX10 Mark V can recognize subject shapes and body positions. That means it should be better at locking onto a bird in flight, tracking an animal moving through foliage, or maintaining focus on a fast-moving subject across the frame. Burst shooting also gets a boost. The RX10 IV can shoot at up to 24 frames per second with AF/AE tracking, which was already impressive. The RX10 Mark V increases that to 30 frames per second with zero blackout viewfinder. In practical terms, that means you can follow the action more naturally through the electronic viewfinder while still capturing a very high burst rate. For casual photographers, the jump from 24 FPS to 30 FPS may not be a deal breaker, but for birders, wildlife shooters, and sports photographers, the combination of AI subject recognition and blackout-free shooting could make a real difference in keeper rate. If you shoot video, the RX10 Mark V is a much bigger upgrade than the still photo specs alone might suggest. The RX10 IV was capable of 4K recording, but it topped out at 4K 30p and 8-bit recording. That was fine in 2017, but by today's standards, it feels limited, especially for creators who want smoother motion, more grading flexibility, or higher quality color information. The RX10 V brings the video feature set much closer to modern hybrid cameras. 4K 60p using the full width of the sensor, 4K 120p with a 1.38x crop for slow motion, 10-bit 4:2:2 internal recording, S-Cinetone and S-Log3 color profiles, active mode stabilization for smoother handheld footage, 4K 30p live streaming support. That is a massive leap compared to the RX10 IV. If you're a creator who uses the RX10 series for travel videos, wildlife footage, or documentary-style shooting, the RX10 V is far more capable. Sony has also redesigned the body to feel more like a current alpha camera. The RX10 V gains an AF joystick and an AF on button, both of which make subject tracking and autofocus control much easier when shooting fast-moving subjects. The electronic viewfinder has also been improved, moving from a 0.39-inch 2.36 million dot EVF on the RX10 IV to a 0.5-inch 3.68 million dot EVF on the RX10 V. That should make composing and tracking subjects feel more immersive and comfortable. One major quality of life improvement is the battery. The RX10 IV uses the smaller NP-FW50 battery and is rated for about 400 shots. The RX10 V switches to the larger NP-FZ100, which is rated for roughly 630 shots. That's over 50% more endurance, which is especially valuable for wildlife trips, travel days, and long video sessions. USB-C charging is another welcome update. The RX10 IV relied on older connectivity, while the RX10 V adopts the more modern USB-C standard, making charging and data transfer much more convenient. There are a couple of trade-offs, though. The RX10 V loses the built-in flash and the top LCD display that were present on the RX10 IV. Some photographers may miss the quick-glance settings display, although the overall control layout on the RX10 V is likely more efficient for active shooting. The RX10 IV launched at around $1,700 which was already one of the more expensive bridge cameras on the market. The RX10 V launches at around $2,300, a noticeable price increase. That makes the buying decision more complicated. For a new buyer who wants the best all-in-one super zoom camera, the RX10 V makes a strong case. You get the proven 24-600mm lens, modern AI autofocus, advanced video features, better battery life, and a more refined body. For existing RX10 IV owners, however, the decision depends heavily on how you use the camera. So, should you upgrade? As we've said, if you already own an RX10 IV and mainly shoot still photos, the upgrade is not essential. Your current camera is still very capable, and image quality from the same lens and sensor should remain strong. But if you rely on autofocus for wildlife or action, shoot a lot of video, or simply want a more modern shooting experience with longer battery life and better controls, the RX10 V becomes much more compelling. At the end of the day, the RX10 V is a smart evolution of the RX10 IV. It keeps the famous 24-600mm lens that made the series special, but adds the AI autofocus, video tools, and usability improvements that bring it up to 2026 standards. Whether that justifies the upgrade depends on your shooting style, but for the right photographer, it could be a very worthwhile jump.